Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Purple Room Talk Shows. If you are new here, no worries. I will hold your hand throughout the whole talk. So, the goal of this talk show is to provide the women in our community a platform to discuss issues that many of us face and hear from professionals in the field who can offer their insights and guidance on the best way to handle them. Empowering women is empowering society. Women are the bridge of cultural heritage. They are the key participants of community building and change makers. So, what is community building? Community building is a field practice directed to the creations of community among individuals within a regional area or with a common need or interest. So, how do people do that? Well, that will be answered by our speaker, Ms Manohara Subramaniam, about women in community building. So, let's welcome her. Hi, Ms Mano.
Hi, Manda. Hi. Thank you for this opportunity. Today I'm supposed to share on my experiences and how I worked together with different various communities. And if I take my own personal experience, I actually started on without even knowing building communities. I started with my own experiences that led me towards community building. When I first started working in a factory, because I always I am one person who always wanted to do work that help others. I always wanted to be in the field, like in the serving field, like for example to be a nurse or to be a teacher or to be a policewoman. That was the service that I knew that I wanted very much to do. But for a start, I actually ended up working in a factory. And while working in a factory, when workers were talking about salary increment, how can the men be paid more than us? We are not getting the same salary that they are getting. So let's join the union and fight for the salary increase. And then I found myself, after joining the union, I didn't get a pay raise, but I got thrown out of the job. So after that, I was very shocked. Why just for asking for salary increase, I got kicked out of the job. Then I went further to, I then from my small town in Seremban, I went to KL. I thought it's a better opportunities there, and I ended up in another factory there. And it was the same situation. The union was seems to be the bad word, and so I worked in the factories there for a while, and then I thought I should better myself, and I should go into the service work that I wanted. And then I applied to a private hospital, and I started working in the private hospital. And has a habit that I know about union, I got to know more. And I knew that we were fighting for rights. And so they recruited me because I kept asking, why, why are we not getting our uniform? We get our uniforms free, but we were not getting our shoes free. And then so the union said, yes, as a protest, we all have to walk with the clocks in the hospital, so that the hospital will then see our need and give in to our need. So at that time, I could see the power of people in big numbers. That is the community, like what we are saying. When in the union, we all come together in big numbers. It seemed to work, and that is how we actually got the shoes that we needed for work. So from then, I was also offered a job. I was offered a position, because I was just an ordinary nurse in the hospital, and I very much wanted to go into student nursing and to become SRN. a staff nurse. So what the hospital rightfully did is to offer me a student nurse position, and this is where I knew that they were actually wanting to get me out of the union work that I was doing. So at that time, people from the women's organization approached me, and they said, I come from a women's organization, and we would like you to come and join us. And then even then, I didn't have any idea of community building then, but I had no awareness about gender issues or gender-based violence. Those are the issues that I was doing after that for about 30 years. But at that time, I never knew that when I joined the women's group that day, that is actually was a stepping stone for me, which really opened up a big wide world of rights, human rights, women's rights. That's when I started to be exposed.
Okay, Ms. Manu, so how does from, fighting for shoe rights to joining the union to joining the NGOs for women actually encourage you to become an activist?
Yeah, I guess one thing led to another. I get more and more excited when when I went into the women's organization, and while I was working with the factory workers, then I realized that when I was trying to get women into unions, and I went into squatter communities where the factory workers live, to encourage them to become union leaders, have leadership position at workplace. This is when I met many women who told me that we have no freedom even in the home. We have no rights in the home, and we have no leadership in the home. And how can we have any leadership at the workplace? So that really hit me hard, because I met
Mm-hmm.
many women who were abused, children who were abused. And so what they were asking me is like, help us with our violence issues. And then it really opened up another area of issues for me to say, when the women are asking to have their rights at home, why am I pushing a right that they don't need at that time, which is the union at the workplace? So that is when I was more exposed. I went into learning what is counseling. Rightfully or wrongfully, I have done so much of counseling with the women at the ground. But at that time, I did not have any theoretical knowledge about violence. And so the women's organization actually built me up. Yeah, the women's organization was very much part of who I am today. And when I have the information, this is where I bring back the information to the communities, and in a language that they did not speak. So everything that I learned in English is translated into Bahasa and in Tamil language, and brought down to the communities who are living in the flats, and the especially the B40 communities, and women who were living in the PPR flats. So that was my focus. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So what are the majority cases that you have handled?
Majority of the cases are definitely, you're talking about whether it's violence. Yeah, but, majority of them are domestic violence cases. Of course, there were also cases of rape, sexual harassment, child sexual abuse. But majority, I will say 90% of the cases were involving gender-based violence, specifically domestic violence.
Okay, so
Yeah,
do you
and when
think
we
that every domestic violence women have the same case?
No, because when we look at domestic violence, they come in many forms. Most often, people see the physical abuse, but sometimes people take time to recognize, like say, the psychological abuse, and there's also sexual abuse. There's also financial abuse. Yeah, so it comes in many forms. And sometimes the women don't only face one form of domestic violence. They can be physically beaten. At the same time, they can be psychologically traumatized. At the same time, they're sexually abused. That can happen too. Yeah. So there is no one sort type of violence that they face. Mm.
Totally understand. So, what are the issues and challenges that the women face in community work?
Challenges, I guess, because we are up against a cultural norm that we are fighting. So when we go out there to the community to tell women that we all have a right to live free from violence, any kind of violence, domestic violence, rape, sexual harassment, and especially women coming from domestic abuse. Sometimes they think that it is part of life. Sometimes they think culturally this is acceptable. When you are in a family, violence is a biasa thing, like it happens. So they accept it. So to fight against it, it is really something. For women to break out of it is also a challenge. They want to do it, but then there will be somebody who telling them that you have to think of your children, you have to think of your family, you have to think of your husband, and you cannot be selfish to only think of your own rights. So then women tend to step back because they feel that they mustn't embarrass their husband by reporting it to the police or getting him arrested. So things like that. So when we talk to them about rights, they recognize their rights, but at the same time, the strong cultural norms and the whole system around them doesn't support them. It only pushes them back into where they came from. Yeah, so that's a huge challenge, I would say.
So, will you encourage people, especially women, be an activist like you to get involved in community work?
Of course, because I mean, I have been in this in this field for many many years, and we need young leaders, we need young activists, we need people to come forward and say we have a role to play. Everyone have a role to play, and if you put your mind to it and you're open to it, all the possibilities and everything follows you. There is training available, there are people to support you, there are opportunities to go to the ground and see the reality. So the whole wide world really opens up to you in terms of understanding the gender-based violence, so as you are able to give your support. Yeah.
Thank you, Ms.
So yeah,
Manu, for such an
thank you.
insightful experience that you have shared with us. Well,
Thank you.
everyone, if you enjoyed Ms. Manu talk show today, do check out our seminar on building a violence-free society on 10th of June 2023 from 10 to 12 p.m. I hope you guys have a good time and goodbye, everyone.
Bye.